guys, Samar on this side, back again with new tutorial video. In this video, we are going to learn one of the most interesting widget in Flutter, that is about the FutureBuilder. So let's start the video. So let's know what is the use of FutureBuilder and why you should use it. So that's a more important thing. So let's understand about it at first. If you follow that tutorial series, you must go through a video named as API integration, where we make a project of 4 buttons, and from that 4 buttons we calling the get, post, put and delete API. Okay, so I already opened the project here. So here, as you know, when we call that post API, the loading is getting started for data fetching, and when the data is coming, that is showing in that pop-up. But the problem is with that, when we call that call post API, that method underscore call post API method is getting called, and here the loading is started. Then the data will be come from that post data method we made there, that the method here. Okay, and after that, when the data is coming, we are making the loading stopped, and we are checking if the data is empty. Then we are showing that data in that common dialog. But as you know that each loading is associated with here, so that the thing is getting randomized. Okay, so just like we have to manually write the each loading, we have to check the loading manually, and depending upon that each loading value, we have to show that progress indicator, and we have to manually start and close that loading as well. And if there is any error appearing, maybe the loading is not closed, so the loading will be go forward for the unlimited times. Okay, so that the thing is randomized actually in our app, so we have to make it joint. Okay, so what we should do here, instead of making that things manually, and if you come here at the call post API, you can see that in that post data we write manually the code, so that the data is getting fetched. So let's know what is the role of FutureBuilder that will help us to make that process in a simple form. So just like, let's understand what is the FutureBuilder. So here, when we call the API through that method, we have to make it await, because API calling is taking time. So for that, we have to make that method asynchronous, and as we make the method asynchronous, we have to make the return type of that function is future. So from here, the FutureBuilder comes into the picture. So in the simple term, FutureBuilder calls a future, that kind of method, when a widget tree is getting built or when a widget tree is getting updated. So we don't have to call that API of that future method again and again when we want that state is updated or state the widget tree is created. Okay, so FutureBuilder takes the care of that future depending upon the widget tree creation or when the widget tree is getting updated. I know that sound a little bit hard, but don't worry, we will see in that code how the FutureBuilder is going to work. Then that will be very much easy for you. Okay, so what we should do, our agenda is, using the FutureBuilder, we will fetch that post data that is showing in the alert dialog, but we will not show the data in the dialog. We will show the data after that 4 buttons at the bottom section. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Okay, come to the main screen.dot and come here in that column where that 4 button is present. So here that button is present. Now what we have to do, we have to make another widget here named as fetch post data. Okay, now we have to make the method at the bottom of the class, and here what we have to do, we have to write return FutureBuilder, that the interesting widget. And here, before mentioning the builder, we have to define the future of it. Okay, so we have to define the future, and in the call post API, we actually call that API method. So we have to write the future method here. So I just copy that things. We are written that in that underscore call post API in one of the last video where we learn about API integration. So I call that things. No, I not copy the await. I just copy from that API caller. Okay, I copy the things from here, and here in the future I just paste it here. Okay, and as you can see that future actually requires a future of dynamic, and post data actually future of dynamic. So we don't have to write the await here, because FutureBuilder accept a future, not a definite value. So now after that, what we have to write, we have to write builder, and here in that builder, if you hover it here, you can see there is a build context and async snapshot is coming. So I will tell you what is snapshot here. So snapshot is the instance of data, just like when the data is coming from the API, using that FutureBuilder, it make a instance of it, a particular instance of data, so that we can use it manually. So here I write build context, that is not required as of now, so I make it underscore, and here I write the variable name as snapshot. Okay, now what we have to do, that snapshot has a different connection state, just like if you write here snapshot dot connection state, and here you can see connection state dot, there is many more connection state: active, done, none, waiting. So when that is active, that means the communication between that future method is activated. Okay, when that means done means that data is getting fetched successfully. When there is none, that just like there is no work is performing there. And when that is waiting, that waiting means that data is fetching. So when we getting the loading here, so here when you click at the loading is here, so that means the waiting state. So in that snapshot connection state, the loading state is called the waiting state. So we have to write here, if there is waiting state, and we have to show a text here, just like constant center and having a child of text data fetching. Okay, and here we can give a decent style, so I copy the style from here, a decent style. Okay, so yeah, and I give that a text style about 20, so that it will be looking gorgeous. Now we can remove that constant. Okay, now this is for when the data is fetching, that is connection state dot waiting. Okay, now we have to check if when the data is fetched. So when the data is fetched, the connection state is done. So we have to write if snapshot dot connection state, and if that connection state is done, then we have to check one more thing, just like when the data come from the API, it is not sure that the data will be come in a successful manner. Just like when we call the API and there is a data come, the data can be a 200 request, or maybe a 404 or 500 request as well. And even when we call the API through that method post data, maybe there is any error will be rising there. So there is a chance that in that snapshot a error will be present there. So we have to first check that error. So we have to write if snapshot dot has error. So if the snapshot having the error, we have to show here. So just like if there is any error coming, we have to show that message, and we can copy that text style as well, and give the font size as 18, that will be decent. And as this is error, we can give that colors red. Okay, now what we have to do, when this is for when there is error, but just like all the condition is checked, and if there is no error is there, so what we have to do, we have to write if snapshot dot has data. That means when the data come from the API, that snapshot dot has data is checking if there is data successfully come from the API or not. If the data is come from the API, we have to take the data from the snapshot, so that the data, and here you can see that the data is dynamic, just like from the API it is coming as a dynamic as well. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to follow that step from that call post API method, so we can check the data in that way. Okay, so here I write data, and here I check if the data is empty, then that will be show that message no data came from the post API. And if the data is present, as I said, we will not show the data in that pop-up dialog here, we will show the data in that screen itself at the bottom of that button. So what we have to do, there is many more of that data is present, modified name, time. So we can do one more thing here, we can make a container here as of now, and having the width covering the full screen width, and having the height of 300 as of now. And we don't write manually all the code, because here in the dialog all of the code is already written for particularly with the widget, so we can take the code from here as well. So what I should do here, I just take the copy of from that column itself, and I make the child here and I paste it here. Okay, now what the thing is that the variable name is not variable name is data, not the underscore data, so I remove that underscore and all the error is gone here. Okay, now I can make a padding here from the screen edge so that it will be looking good. So from horizontal that will be 10 and from vertically that will be 5. Okay, now there is a error coming here, so let's see what the error is arriving in that file. Okay, actually what happens, you have to return here you can see if you have to return a widget here from the builder function. Okay, so just like we are taking the waiting connection, then we return a widget. When that connection is done, there is a widget is particularly returned. But when that two of the condition is not arriving there, so what we should do, we have to show a empty text, okay, or empty widget, just like a center widget. So what we should do here at the bottom, I write here. So actually builder method must take a widget as its return type is the widget. So if there is no condition is satisfying of connection waiting or connection done, we have to show nothing. That's why I return a empty center widget. Okay, now I think our code is done. As we done the method fetch post data with the FutureBuilder. So what happens when I hot reload here? So actually when we call that, when we hot reload here, as we are calling that method fetch post data from that widget tree itself, that FutureBuilder will be automatically called that future method, and what the data will be come here, that data will be show here. So what happens when we hot reload, that at the bottom of that buttons data fetching will be show, and when the data fetching is done, that will check if there is any error or not. If there is no error, that will be so, that will be check if the data is empty or not. If the data is empty, that will be show that pop-up message. But if the data is not empty, that means the definite data value is present, and that will be show all of the data here, modified name, modified time here at the bottom of that buttons. Okay, so stay tuned for that, because FutureBuilder method will be get called automatically when we hot reload that. Okay, so stay tuned for that. So if I make a hot reload here, just focus on here. Okay, so when I make a hot reload here, as you can see, data is fetching here from the FutureBuilder, and the data is came and showing here in that under the bottom of that buttons. Okay, so that's how you can do the step of FutureBuilder to make the things in the joint form, not in the randomized state as well. Okay, so that's the beauty of FutureBuilder. In the future project, we will see the more implement about the FutureBuilder and that kind of some interesting widget as well. So if you love this kind of video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe this channel. The next video of the series is coming very soon. Have a nice day. Bye.